Professor Velkaris had been teaching xenobiology and interstellar threat assessment at the Galactic Naval Academy for over 2 centuries. His 8 tentacles moved with practiced precision as he manipulated the holographic display, showing detailed anatomical breakdowns of the galaxy's most feared predators. The mixed-species classroom of cadets watched with rapt attention, all except one human in the third row who seemed more bored than terrified. "Today we examine the Apex Hunter classification," Professor Velkaris announced, his chromatophores shifting to their lecture mode crimson. "These are creatures that have evolved beyond normal predatory parameters. They possess enhanced sensory arrays, superior physical capabilities, and most critically, advanced problem-solving intelligence." The hologram shifted to display a sleek, four-legged creature with midnight black fur and eyes that seemed to pierce through the projection itself. Several Altarian cadets in the front row shuddered visibly. "The Shadow Stalker of Kepler 438b," the professor continued, "capable of achieving speeds of 80 kilometers per hour, equipped with retractable claws harder than most starship hulls, and possessing a bite force of over 2,000 pounds per square inch. But what makes them truly dangerous is their pack intelligence. They can coordinate complex hunts, solve multi-step problems, and have been observed using basic tool manipulation." Cadet Zeptar, a young crystalline, raised a shimmering appendage. "Professor, surely no civilization would be foolish enough to attempt domestication of such creatures?" "Precisely correct, Cadet. Any species that evolved alongside apex hunters would either be extinct or have developed into apex predators themselves. The psychological and physical adaptations required would be—" A hand shot up from the third row. Every head in the classroom turned to stare at Cadet Emma Rodriguez, the lone human in this year's xenobiology cohort. "Yes, Cadet Rodriguez?" Professor Velkaris asked, his tentacles twitching with mild annoyance at the interruption. "My family kept 3 of those as pets," Emma said matter-of-factly. "Well, similar anyway. We called them German Shepherds." The classroom fell into stunned silence. Professor Velkaris' chromatophores flickered through several colors of confusion before settling on skeptical blue. "I beg your pardon, Cadet." Emma stood, pulling out her personal data pad. "May I?" At the professor's bewildered nod, she transmitted an image to the main display. The hologram shifted to show a smaller human, obviously a juvenile, sitting in what appeared to be a garden. Surrounding her were 3 massive quadrupeds that bore a striking resemblance to the Shadow Stalkers, but with longer fur and expressive brown eyes. The child's arms were wrapped around one of the creatures in what could only be described as an affectionate embrace. "That's my little sister with Max, Duke, and Princess," Emma explained casually. "Max was the smartest. He could open doors, turn on water faucets, and once figured out how to unlock the food storage container. Duke was the strongest. He could drag a full-grown human adult across rough terrain without breaking stride. And Princess was the fastest. She could outrun most human land vehicles." Cadet Thexmore, a mechanoid, processed this information with visible difficulty. "You're claiming your species domesticated apex predators?" "Domesticated?" Emma laughed. "Oh no, we didn't domesticate wolves. We partnered with them. About 40,000 years ago, some wolves figured out that humans were excellent hunters, but terrible at tracking. Humans figured out that wolves were incredible trackers, but needed tools for complex problem solving. So we teamed up." Professor Velkaris was frantically consulting his database. "Impossible. Cooperative evolution between 2 apex species?" "The competitive pressure alone would." "Professor," Emma interrupted gently, "Earth had dozens of apex predators. Wolves were just the ones we got along with best. We also had big cats, bears, sharks, eagles, crocodiles, and something called a honey badger that basically didn't fear anything in the known universe. The Altarian cadets were now openly trembling. Zeptar's crystalline form had gone completely colorless. You lived alongside all of these creatures? Professor Valkaris asked weakly. Lived alongside? Some of them, sure. But humans didn't survive by avoiding apex predators, Professor. We survived by becoming the apex predator. We just happened to be smart enough to make friends with some of the others. Emma gestured to the image still displayed. Dogs, that's what we call domesticated wolves, became our partners in hunting, protection, search and rescue, law enforcement, military operations, and emotional support. They learned to understand human facial expressions, vocal commands, and even basic sign language. In return, we gave them food, shelter, medical care, and what humans call belly rubs. Belly rubs? Cadet Mordak, a large insectoid, clicked nervously. Physical affection, Emma explained. Turns out apex predators, including humans, have an emotional need for social bonding. Dogs fill that role for humans, and humans fill the pack leadership role for dogs. It was a 40,000-year partnership that benefited both species. Professor Valkaris stared at his database readout, his chromatophores cycling through colors of disbelief. According to this data, your planet Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world with over 2,000 documented apex predator species. Sounds about right. Emma nodded. Though I think the classification system might be a bit outdated. Most of those species learned to coexist with humans, or at least avoid us. The really dangerous ones mostly went extinct when human civilization expanded. The apex predators went extinct? Zeptar whispered. Well, yeah. When you're competing with humans for territory, you either adapt, find a niche, or... Emma shrugged. Natural selection is pretty ruthless. The classroom remained silent for a long moment as the implications sank in. Finally, Professor Valkaris spoke, his voice barely audible. Cadet Rodriguez, perhaps you'd be willing to guest lecture on Earth's ecosystem next week? Emma smiled, an expression that several cadets now realized was just humans displaying their omnivorous teeth. I'd be happy to, Professor. I'll bring pictures of the family cats too. Cats? Professor Valkaris asked faintly. Oh, you'll love cats, Professor. They're basically tiny apex predators that humans invited into their homes because they were cute and good at pest control. As the class bell rang, cadets filed out in stunned silence, leaving Professor Valkaris alone with a completely revised understanding of what it meant to be human. He made a mental note to update his threat assessment protocols.